For 10 years, I was the envy of every woman in our neighborhood. My life felt like a carefully curated scene from a movie. I was the wife of Captain Mark Reynolds, a senior commercial airline pilot for a major international carrier. When you tell people your husband is a pilot, their eyes light up. It immediately commands a certain type of respect. It implies stability, intelligence, bravery, and, let's be honest, a very comfortable income. And we had all of that. We lived in a beautiful two-story house in the suburbs, we drove nice cars, and our daughter, Sophie, went to a private school. Mark looked the part perfectly. He was tall, with that graying hair at the temples that makes men look distinguished. He had that calm, steady voice, the kind of voice you want to hear over an intercom when you're hitting turbulence at 30,000 feet. Our routine was clockwork. He would leave for his trips for 3 or 4 days at a time. I would iron his shirts, crisp, white, perfectly pressed. I would watch him pack his black rollaboard suitcase. He would put on his uniform, pin those gold wings to his chest, and kiss me goodbye at the door. He'd say things like, "Heading to Tokyo today, honey, back on Thursday," or "Got a red-eye to London, try to sleep well." I never doubted him, not once. Why would I? He brought me gifts from all over the world. Swiss chocolates from Zurich, silk scarves from China, specialized skincare from South Korea. He knew the airport codes by heart. He complained about the union, the long layovers, the rude passengers in first class, and the terrible coffee in the cockpit. He even had the pilot's sleep schedule, coming home exhausted, needing blackout curtains to sleep off the jet lag. It was a perfect lie. A masterpiece of deception constructed so flawlessly that for a decade I didn't see a single crack in the facade. The unraveling began on a Tuesday in November. It was a small, stupid detail. It usually is. Mark was supposed to be on a 4-day rotation to Dubai. He had left that morning, looking dashing in his uniform, complaining about the forecasted sandstorms in the Middle East. About 6 hours after he left, I was in the kitchen making tea when I saw a black car pull up slowly in front of our house. It wasn't a taxi or a police car. It was a delivery courier. He walked up to the porch and rang the bell. I answered, and he handed me a thick envelope. "Delivery for Mark Reynolds. Signature required." "He's not home," I said, signing the digital pad. "He's flying right now. I'm his wife." The courier looked at his device. "Strange, the instructions said to deliver it before 5 p.m. specifically because he would be at the depot." "At the depot?" I asked. "No, he's a pilot. He's probably over the Atlantic right now." The guy shrugged, handed me the envelope, and left. Curiosity is a dangerous thing. The envelope was from the Department of Motor Vehicles, but it was marked Commercial Division. I knew pilots had licenses, but this felt heavy. I told myself I shouldn't open it, but the comment about the depot stuck in my head. I opened it. Inside, there wasn't a pilot's license renewal, it was a CDL, a commercial driver's license renewal notice, Class A, certified for heavy loads. I stared at the paper. Maybe he needed this for some reason? Maybe pilots need a commercial driving license for driving on the tarmac? I tried to rationalize it, but then I saw the employer listed on the secondary form. It didn't say American Airlines or Delta, it said Reynolds Logistics and Haulage, independent contractor. My heart started hammering against my ribs. I went to our home office. Mark was very private about his flight logs and paperwork, keeping everything in a locked drawer. He always said it was sensitive airline security protocol. I had never questioned it. But today, looking at that CDL notice, I grabbed a letter opener and pried the drawer. It wasn't difficult. The lock was cheap. I expected to find flight manifests, union letters, maybe a logbook of flight hours. Instead, I found receipts, hundreds of them. Fuel receipts from truck stops in Oklahoma, Nebraska, Ohio, Motel 6 receipts from places off the interstate, fast food receipts from diners I'd never heard of, and then I found the souvenirs. In the back of the drawer was a stash of items still in their packaging. The Swiss chocolates, the Korean face masks, and next to them, an eBay packing slip. He hadn't bought the chocolates in Zurich. He had bought them in bulk online from an importer in New Jersey. I sat on the floor, the room spinning. He wasn't in Dubai, he wasn't a pilot. But where was he? I looked at the most recent receipt in the drawer. It was from yesterday. A gas station, but not just any gas station. A massive truck stop just 30 miles outside of our city, near the industrial sector. I grabbed my keys. I didn't think. I just drove. I knew the area vaguely. It was a wasteland of warehouses and shipping containers. I drove around for an hour, feeling insane. I was looking for what? I didn't even know what vehicle he drove. I was about to give up and go home, to wait for him to return from Dubai and confront him. Then I saw it. Parked in the back lot of a massive distribution center was our second car, the old Honda he used to commute to the airport. It was parked next to a chain-link fence. I parked across the street and waited. I waited for 5 hours. It got dark. I was hungry, cold, and terrified. Around 9 p.m., a massive 18-wheeler, a semi-truck with a gleaming chrome cab pulled into the lot. It hissed as the air brakes engaged. The door opened. A man climbed down. He wasn't wearing a pilot's uniform with gold stripes. He was wearing jeans, heavy boots, and a flannel shirt with a high-visibility vest over it. He looked tired. He stretched his back, rubbing his neck the way he always did when he came home from a long flight. It was Mark. I watched as he walked to the back of the cab, opened a compartment, and pulled out a garment bag. He walked to our old Honda, opened the trunk, and took out his pilot uniform. Right there, in the parking lot, under the dim buzz of a street lamp, I watched my husband perform the transformation. He took off the work boots and put on the polished dress shoes. He took off the flannel shirt and put on the crisp white pilot shirt I ironed for him. He tied the black tie. He put on the blazer with the gold wings. He checked his reflection in the car window, adjusted his cap, and suddenly he was Captain Reynolds again. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The man that I respected for his command of the skies was actually commanding 18 wheels on the interstate. I didn't confront him there. I couldn't. I drove home, shaking the entire way. I beat him by 20 minutes. When he walked through the front door, dragging his rollerboard suitcase, he looked exhausted. "Hey, honey," he said, dropping his keys in the bowl. Dubai was brutal. Headwinds the whole way back. I'm absolutely dead. He leaned in to kiss me. He smelled of coffee and stale air, the same smell I had associated with airplanes for 10 years. Now I recognized it. It was the smell of a truck cab. It was the smell of diesel and diner food. I looked at him. "Did you fly over the Atlantic?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Yeah, of course," he said, loosening his tie. "Why? You okay?" "Mark, I know." He froze. His hand stopped halfway to undoing his top button. "You know what?" "I know you weren't in Dubai. I know you were on the interstate. I know about the truck."
The color drained from his face faster than I've ever seen. He didn't try to deny it. He didn't laugh it off. He just collapsed. He literally slunk against the wall and slid down until he was sitting on the floor, still in his fake pilot uniform. He put his head in his hands and began to sob, not just cry. He wept. 10 years of tension leaving his body all at once. We sat on the floor of our hallway for 3 hours while he told me the truth. He had gone to flight school. That part was true. 11 years ago, before we got married, he was in the final stages of his certification. But he failed the medical exam. A minor, previously undiagnosed heart arrhythmia. It was enough to disqualify him from commercial aviation permanently. He was devastated. He had already bragged to his family, to me, to everyone, that he was going to be a pilot. He couldn't handle the shame of being a washout. He couldn't bear to tell me that the future we planned was gone. So, He did the only other thing he knew how to do that paid well and involved travel. He got his CDL. He started driving long-haul specialized freight, oversized loads, hazardous materials, things that paid double or triple the normal trucking rate because they were dangerous or urgent. "I make good money," he pleaded, tears streaming down his face. "I make almost as much as a captain. I paid for the house. I paid for Sophie's school. I couldn't look at you and tell you I was a truck driver. I wanted you to be proud of me. I wanted to be the captain." He told me about the elaborate lengths he went to, the flight tracker apps he used to sync his arrivals with real flights so he could text me at the right times, the online shopping for duty-free items, the jet lag that was actually just exhaustion from driving 16 hours straight to make a delivery deadline. The reason he hated me driving him to the airport was that he never went to the terminal. He went to the truck depot. "I live in a box, Anna," he told me. "For 3 days a week, I sleep in a sleeper berth behind a driver's seat, eating sandwiches, listening to audiobooks, just so I can come home and pretend to be someone important." I looked at him, this broken man in a costume. "You are a truck driver," I said slowly. "You drive a truck." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The betrayal wasn't about the job. I wouldn't have cared if he was a truck driver. My father was a mechanic. I don't care about status. The betrayal was the theatrical production he had forced me to participate in without my knowledge. Every dinner party where I bragged about his landings, every time I told my friends, "Oh, Mark is in Paris," I looked like a fool, a gullible, naive fool. But as I looked at him crying on the floor, I realized something else. The sheer amount of effort, the discipline it took to work a grueling blue-collar job, driving thousands of miles on lonely highways, only to come home and put on a performance for his family. It was psychotic, yes, but it was also tragically devoted. He worked harder to maintain the lie than most men work at their actual careers. I didn't divorce him. Not immediately, anyway. But the uniform had to go. I made him burn it, literally. We went to the backyard and burned the blazer, the cap, the wings. It's been 2 years since that night. We're still together, but it's different. We moved to a smaller house. He still drives the truck. He actually owns his own logistics company now, so he doesn't drive as much. He tells people he works in transportation. But sometimes, when we are driving somewhere together and we pass an 18-wheeler on the highway, I see him glance at it, and I see me glancing at him. The trust is building back, slowly. But I learned a lesson that day that I'll never forget. We think we know the people we sleep next to. We think we know their days, their thoughts, their reality, but we only know what they choose to show us. My husband wasn't a pilot. He never touched the clouds. He was a man on the ground, grinding gears on the asphalt, carrying the weight of a 10-year lie just to see a look of admiration in my eyes. And the saddest part? I would have admired him anyway. I just wish he had given me the chance.